You're sinking, and the light disappeared behind you a long time ago. Somewhere around 660 feet down, the ocean simply stopped letting sunlight through. And you're nowhere close to the bottom yet. Not even 1% of the way there. That's the real answer to today's question. What happens if you dive into the deepest part of the ocean? Not a swimming pool, not a shallow reef dive. The actual deepest point on the entire planet. And the honest answer involves crushing forces so extreme that most submarines on Earth couldn't survive them either. This isn't science fiction. The deepest known point in Earth's oceans is called Challenger Deep, at the bottom of the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific, nearly 36,000 feet down. Only a handful of people in history have ever reached it. Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh in 1960, in a steel vessel called the Trieste, filmmaker James Cameron alone in 2012, and explorer Victor Vescovo in 2019, whose expedition mapped the trench in detail neither previous mission had achieved. For comparison, more people have walked on the moon than have ever reached the deepest point of our own planet's oceans. Everest could sit entirely at the bottom of that trench, and its peak would still be over a mile underwater. Here's the one concept you need. Pressure in water builds with depth, because every layer of ocean above you adds its own weight, pressing down on everything below it. At sea level, air pressure alone already presses on your body at about 14 pounds per square inch. You just never notice, because you've felt it your entire life and your body evolved around it. Underwater, pressure increases far faster than it does in air. Roughly one additional full atmosphere for every 33 feet you descend, because water is so much denser than air. At the bottom of Challenger Deep, that pressure reaches over 16,000 pounds per square inch, more than 1,000 times what you feel standing on a beach. To put that number in human terms, it's roughly equivalent to 8 tons pressing on every single square inch of your body, all at once, from every direction simultaneously, which is close to the weight of several loaded pickup trucks balanced on an area the size of a postage stamp. So let's walk through what actually happens, stage by stage, assuming you're diving unprotected, without a submersible. First, within about 130 feet, increasing pressure starts compressing the air spaces in your body, your lungs, your sinuses, the air pockets in your middle ear. This is the same mechanism that makes your ears pop on an airplane, just far more intense, and it's already enough to injure an untrained diver who descends too quickly without equalizing that pressure. Then, past about 1,000 feet, sunlight is completely gone, and the deep ocean's true nature reveals itself. Near freezing water, absolute darkness, and pressure already strong enough to noticeably compress air-filled cavities in your body. Free-diving humans, even elite athletes trained for years to hold their breath, have never gone anywhere close to this depth unprotected and survived. The current free diving record sits at a few hundred feet, a small fraction of the distance still remaining. By the time you'd reach a few thousand feet, without equipment, the airspaces in your body would have already collapsed catastrophically, long before any other part of the descent became relevant. But here's the detail almost nobody expects. Most of your body, the water inside your cells, your blood, your muscle tissue, is mostly incompressible liquid. Liquid doesn't crush the way air does, since its molecules are already packed as tightly as pressure can push them. The parts of you that fail catastrophically are specifically the air-filled cavities, not your body as a solid mass. This is exactly why deep-sea submersibles are built as rigid pressure spheres rather than soft-walled vehicles. The danger isn't the water pressing in gently, it's the sudden, violent collapse of any pocket of air or gas trying to resist that pressure. We got a devastating real-world demonstration of this in 2023, when a submersible bound for the wreck of the Titanic suffered a catastrophic implosion at depth, near the Titanic's resting place, about 2.5 miles down. Engineers who studied the incident concluded the collapse would have happened in a fraction of a second, faster than the human nervous system can register pain. It's a sobering, real confirmation of exactly the physics we're describing. At extreme ocean depth, catastrophic failure isn't slow. It's instantaneous. Here's the twist that makes the deep ocean stranger than most people assume. Despite pressure that would crush a submarine hull, life still thrives down there. Scientists have found fish, shrimp like amphipods, and microbial life at the very bottom of Challenger Deep itself, along with sea cucumbers and single-celled organisms called xenophyophores that grow surprisingly large on the trench floor. These organisms survive because they have no internal air pockets to collapse. Their bodies are built entirely around incompressible fluid, matched in pressure to the water surrounding them, so there's nothing rigid inside them for the crushing force to catastrophically implode. Bring one of these creatures up to the surface too quickly, and the reverse problem takes over. They can suffer serious damage from the sudden drop in pressure, not from any struggle with the crushing depths they call home. That's the edge of what we know. The same pressure that would instantly destroy a rigid submarine hull is, to a creature built without air pockets, simply the pressure of home. So here's the honest answer. Unprotected, you wouldn't slowly suffocate on the way down. You'd suffer catastrophic injury to your air-filled cavities within the first few hundred feet, long before reaching anything close to the true abyss. Protected, inside a properly engineered vessel with a rigid pressure hull, you could reach the bottom and find an entire ecosystem that has spent millions of years quietly adapting to conditions that would destroy almost anything humans build, proving that survivable and livable depend entirely on what your body is built out of. There's another direction entirely where crushing pressure gives way to freezing emptiness. What happens if you were suddenly exposed to the vacuum of space without a suit? That's a story for another episode in this series, so subscribe if you don't want to miss it. I'll see you at the edge.